radio for the masses.
Headline edition, July 8, 1947. The Army Air Forces has announced that a flying disc has been found and is now in the possession of the Army.
If the game is rigged, change the game. Game changer.
I occasionally think how quickly our differences worldwide would vanish if we were facing an alien threat from outside this world.
This is Fade to Black with your host, Jimmy Church, on the Game Changer Radio Network and KGRA, the Global Radio Alliance.
I need your help to get to the year 1985.
You're listening to Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Network.
All right, good evening. Fade to Black. Bespoke radio for the masses. Yeah. Today's Wednesday, August 22nd, 2018. 235 days into the new year, just 130 days left. And as always, that's right, we are live from a bunker right in the middle of beautiful downtown Burbank, California. I would like to welcome everybody listening all around the world, all across the United States. Hither and thither, to and fro, back and forth, up and down, east and west, north and south. Far and near. This is Fade to Black for KJCR, the Game Changer Network, and KGRA, the Planet. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. What is cracking, everybody? How you doing? How you doing? How you doing? It's going to be one of those shows tonight, because our very special guest is Richard Bleepin Dolan. That's right, he's back. Tonight, everything is on the table. We're going to discuss all the latest news in our UFO community. That's right. Remember TTSA, To the Stars Academy? Remember that? We're going to talk about that. I think we're going to discuss Gaia TV tonight. That's right. Discuss some recent sightings. And, of course, the alleged next book of his on false flags. Tomorrow night is another Fader Night with John Rappaport and his No More Fake Newsroom Live. That's tomorrow night, followed by open lines all night long. Okay? All right. Man, maybe tonight, I don't know. Maybe we'll take some phone calls with Richard. We'll see. We always run out of time with Mr. Dolan, and tonight's going to be no exception. He was texting me before the show. He's probably listening right now, so I'll tell you what he texted. He goes, "What? We're only doing 2 hours, Church. I need 4 with you, my man." And I was like, I know, right? Nah, he didn't. Yeah, he did. Well, he almost said that. He meant to say that. Love it when Richard's on the show. I can't believe it's been so long. We've had him on, little special things here and there. But it's been, I'm going to say, it's been like a year. I've had him on Coast. I just can't believe it's been that long since he's been on the show. So anyway, Richard Dolan tonight. Very excited to have somebody in here who, and I say this all the time, but it's really true. Richard represents us. And I am so proud when he's out there, doing his thing, whether it's radio or TV or conferences. And I sit and I listen to Richard speak, and I just step back and I watch and I go, people get it. That's one thing. They get it with his delivery. But the second thing is he comes from this historian, educated background, and he knows how to speak, and he represents us. And I'm just glad. I'm just glad. So anyway, tonight Richard's on the show. Today is Juan Crucier's birthday. He's 59. I didn't know. That escaped me. Juan Cousier from Rat, the bass player from Rat. Wow, that's a trip. 59 years old. Where did the time go, right? Okay, don't forget to follow us and go and register over at OnStellar, OnStellar.com, OnStellar.com. You can follow me on Twitter at JChurchRadio. Facebook is still alive and kicking. I don't know for how much longer, but it's still there. And, of course, YouTube, which is giving me hassles today, too, as well, and yesterday and the day before. There you go. I'm just writing that out. But YouTube is still there. And if you want to go and chase us down, everything is Jimmy Church or Fade to Black. It's simple enough to do. And you can go follow, like, and subscribe. Whatever social media platform is your taste, you can go and do it. If you want to hang out with us on Twitter, hashtag F2B is the place to go to. That's our sandbox. We have 2 chat rooms open tonight. Of course, every single night. We have 2 chat rooms open, one over at KGRA The Planet, and, of course, Spreaker.com. And there you go. Pick your poison. Man, I love coffee. And I love coffee with, like, 2 or 3 extra shots of espresso. Then it gets to where it needs to be. Hey, where are my dancing gifts tonight? Okay, I guess there is a few. Okay, I take it back. There's Elvis. Okay, all right. My bad. It just slipped by me. All right. You can also email throughout the show tonight, Jimmy@jimmychurchradio.com. A couple of program notes. I normally don't leak this, but I'm going to just let you guys know that this weekend I'm going to be over at Coast to Coast. I'll just be doing this Saturday. And so that's this weekend. And my guests are Peter Maxwell Slattery and Laura Cantu. That'll be this Saturday. Next Saturday, September 22nd, September 1st, I'll be back. So a week later, I'm over at Coast. And then a week or 2 after that, which is September 22nd, I'm over at Coast. And then through the month of October and November. So there you go. I thought we were going to get a break, but yeah, so I'll be over at Coast this Saturday. And Peter Maxwell Slattery and Laura Cantu, both of them have, this will be, for the both of them, their first time appearances over at Coast to Coast. And I'm really surprised about that. But what's really cool when that happens, just like on Fade to Black, introducing the Coast audience to new talent and fresh faces is something that I really, really enjoy. So, Coast audience, get ready for that. Peter Maxwell Slattery and Laura Cantu this Saturday over on Coast to Coast. All right, got some breaking news. And, I saw this ramping up over the last week or two, but a gang of earthquakes, a gang of earthquakes has hit the Pacific Ring of Fire, and it's been going on all week long, prompting me to wonder if it's a precursor, to the big one. I certainly hope not, but 69 earthquakes, including another 16 tremors, just tremors. The tremors, 16 tremors that were 4.5 or above on the Richter scale, have recently hit the area, and this is according to the USGS, which recorded the events but did not issue a warning. Of the 69 earthquakes, 53 hit the area on Sunday. A massive earthquake registering 8.2 also hit on Sunday. That caught my eye. I don't know if you guys saw it. Came and went. It was 175 miles northeast of Nadoi Island in Fiji. It was so deep in the earth that they decided not to issue a tsunami warning. But that is an awful lot of earthquakes. Now, there's another part to this, too, as well. There's 450 active volcanoes in the Ring of Fire. 90% of the world's volcanoes are right there in that little horseshoe-shaped ring, right? So there's that part of it, and they are active. So what is going on out there? I don't want to, I'm not all doom and gloom. I'm not, but it just feels strange. Mother Nature, man, burping. We'll see. All right, don't forget to subscribe to our podcast, where we have over 900 archive shows, custom apps, Apple, Android, all platforms. It's just $2 a month, and you get the great apps. Everything's updated and done every single day. It's just amazing for $2 a month to have 900 full-length, unedited archive shows right there for your listening pleasure. You also can become a Fade or Not over in our membership section at jimmychurchradio.com, where you will get the bunker cam. Hello, everybody. I'm waving to you now. And you can also get, if you so desire, commercial-free downloadable archives. That's right. You can play anywhere. And if you get the Game Changer, you'll get all of that fabulous Fade to Black gear. That's right. And, autographed hats and T-shirts. And you'll also get a private email to yours truly. Okay? Don't forget all of our sponsors here, Life Change Tea, GetTheTea.com, River Moon Coffee, Ancient Life Oil, Sacred Skulls. That's right. I love my Sacred Skull. And you get 15% off your Sacred Skulls if you just mention Fade to Black. Numana Food Storage and Bearing Optics. I got 3 emails today. 3 from people that got their new night vision goggles from Bearing Optics. That's a life-changing thing. You can ask Richard about that when he is on here in a few moments. And also one of our other sponsors, Richard Dolan Press. He'll be here shortly. Let's get this show cracking. Happy birthday to today, Kristen Wiig. Today is 45. And you may know her from Saturday Night Live or Bridesmaids or Ghostbusters, Knocked Up. But not for me. No. It's The Secret Life of Walter Mitty. Have you seen that? The remake. It's amazing. And the movie is really good. Ben Stiller knocks it out of the park, and so does Kristen Wiig. But it's not even that. It's her cover of David Bowie's Space Oddity. She slays the dragon. It is so good. You've got to check it out. The Secret Life of Walter Mitty. It's really, really well done. All right, the Ring of Fire must be the hot sauce. IPD. Come on, man, behave. I got to concentrate. All right, our dead guy's birthday today. Moment of silence, please, for Mr. Lane Staley. 1967 to 2002. Died at the age of 34. Lead vocalist, occasional rhythm guitarist, and co-songwriter of Alice in Chains from 1987 until 1998. From mid-1996 onwards, Staley was completely out of the public eye. That's right. Never to perform live again. He struggled much of his life with adult life with depression and drug addiction, which resulted in his death at the age of 34 on April 5th, 2002. Happy birthday, Lane. On this day in history, OTD, 1982, OTD. The shootings at Ruby Ridge. And the second day of a standoff at Randy Weaver's remote northern Idaho cabin atop Ruby Ridge, FBI sharpshooter Lon Horiuchi, that's right, Horiuchi, wounds Randy Weaver, his son, and Kevin Harris, and then kills Weaver's wife, Vicky. They wounded Randy and Kevin Harris? I thought they wounded his son. So it was Randy Weaver was wounded, not his son. Or his son went out to get the dog, right? Yeah, man, unbelievable. On this day in 1992. I don't even want to think about it. Fade or fact. Here we go. All right? Fade or fact. Write this one down. Free weights at your gym. Free weights at the gym that you work out at have 362 times more bacteria than a toilet seat. And that, that is your Fader Fact. Tonight, very special guest is with us, Richard Bleepin Dolan. And I normally would say he is back, but man, it's been a long time since he's been here. So it's just another show with Richard Bleepin Dolan. And tonight we're going to go through everything in the UFO community. And I don't want to hold back. He never does. So we're going to go there tonight for 2 straight hours. Tomorrow night is another Fader night with John Rappaport and his No More Fake Newsroom live with open lines all night long. All right. Let me hit this River Moon Coffee. Promo code F2B Blend. Yeah. Every day, every single day, I get a little smarter. I do. I get smarter. That's what life is all about. Learning something every single day. Last night we had Dr. Robert Schock on the show, and it was an amazing conversation. And we were talking about the Big Bang. You remember that at the beginning of the show. And the universe expanding and contracting and, dark energy and, contracting back to nothing, the cycle of the universe, the alleged, the theory, and then starting all over with another Big Bang. And my concern with this is everything changing from something created. In other words, you start from the Big Bang, you start with the energy, and that energy over a 300, 400,000 year period started colliding with itself, and the elements were created, and stars were created, and planet, and so on and so on and so on. And here we are today, 13.8 billion years later, right? Okay. But if it's going to reverse direction our universe and compact back onto itself to restart the Big Bang, then you've got to change everything back from something to energy. Rocks, dirt, water, elements, all of it, right? Back into energy. And he suggested that antimatter could do it. And I was like, wow, whoa, big light bulb went off. Antimatter colliding with the matter, and the universe is collapsing on itself and collapsing the matter into the antimatter and turning everything back into energy. Made sense at the time, right? And okay, I'm kind of good with it. So I filed that away for future reference. I'm going to go tap back into that little nugget of knowledge from Schock last night, and it hasn't gone anywhere. But after the show, I continued some research on the subject. I've been studying this for years, and I've really, really spent a lot of time on it over the last year, a lot. And I jumped back into it last night after the show. And today I'm right back where I was before the show last night. Yeah. You see, you have to look at it like this. We have matter, we have antimatter, we have dark matter, we have dark energy, and we have gravity. These are all of the things that are working in our universe, right? In our solar system, everywhere. Well, I'm not sure how much dark energy and dark matter are inside of our solar system, but certainly outside of our galaxy, this stuff is all going nuts. But we do have gravity here. And although we don't understand anything about gravity other than it exists, and listen, go and talk to any physicist that you want to, theoretical physicist, theoretical cosmologist, whoever you want to talk to, and ask them about gravity or ask them about time, and you're going to get a different answer from each one. Nobody knows nothing. We don't. Well, you know what we know about gravity? We know this about gravity. It sucks. Right? It sucks. Right? It sucks. This is, it sucks. Right? It's sucking. We know that about gravity, but everything else and what caused we don't know. We don't know. We just know it exists. It's what holds our galaxies together. And things are in different stages. All right? There's different things going on. But that's what gravity is doing inside of our galaxy and everything inside of our galaxy. Dark energy, on the other hand, which is something that we know even less about than gravity, okay, which is, very close to nothing. Dark energy is pushing everything outward. It's like the opposite of gravity, right? The universe is an ever-expanding balloon with this dark energy pushing everything out. And we think today that it makes up as much as 80% of our universe is dark energy, and we don't know anything about it. We don't. Right? Just theoretically, that is what's pushing everything out. And because of that, and especially that we don't understand much about it, I don't see it reversing. I just don't. The dark energy is pushing everything apart. I don't know what is going to be the end of anything, or if we're going to eventually collide into another universe in about 1 billion years. Oh, okay. Which brings me to this next thought, and I'm going to get to that in a second. The universe is expanding, and eventually, when you get outside of our galaxy, you're not going to see anything there, except the closest galaxy to us is Andromeda. And Andromeda isn't moving away from us with the rest of the universe. It is not. No. It's in some kind of weird tide, and it's coming towards us. It's coming to the Milky Way. And in about 1 billion years, if we're around to hang out for it, it's going to collide eventually with the Milky Way. So if you ever wonder how long would it take for us to jet out to Andromeda, and it's a long ways away, but it would take a long time. But if you just hang out here, every day Andromeda is getting a little bit closer. So eventually we'll just be able to, just hop, skip, and jump over to it. Andromeda is heading this way. So, which brought me to all of these weird thoughts that I'm having, and you are having. I didn't get any sleep last night. This came to me around 4 a.m. in the morning, and it wasn't original because I've had it over and over and over again. But how is it possible that I have these thoughts, that I have these concerns? How is it possible? Let me explain. Do animals think like this? Probably not. I don't see any lemurs, sitting around with their hands behind their head, just going, man, how did we get here? No. But something is making me think this way, and I can't get my mind off of it. I'm losing sleep. I'm studying. I'm trying to figure this stuff out. And I'm finding out that all of the great scientists out there, all of them are reversing even what they felt pretty good about 20, 30 years ago, right? They've reversed course. The more that I think about it, the more that I'm convinced that we have nothing to do with Earth. Yeah. And I think that's the haunting thing. These memories, the stuff is in our DNA. We're getting closer to figuring it out because we were brought here. There is no evidence anywhere about how we just managed to evolve over 200,000 years into us. And all of you amateur anthropologists out there, all of you amateur historians, save it. Don't post anywhere. Don't send me any email. Church, you don't know nothing. I do. I know a lot. And we were just brought here. There isn't anything anywhere that says how we evolved. It's just impossible. It's impossible to do what we have done over 200,000 years. There's no way. We are getting smarter and smarter every single day. And this one question is still not answered. Why? Because we didn't evolve here. That's why. And there's no way to prove it because it just doesn't exist. Not on this planet anyway. We keep going back and we're trying to find the fossil record. We're trying to figure it out. We're trying to have Cro-Magnon and just going Australopithecus and the links, and it just doesn't exist. And we're trying to make it work, but we can't because it's not there. There is no way that we evolved into who we are today. We are the only thing on this planet that does what we do, and it's because we were brought here. And I'm laying awake at night thinking about this and contemplating what makes us so unique on this planet. Why hasn't anything else evolved? Why hasn't anything else changed? Why hasn't anything else morphed? Not over 200,000 years, over tens of millions of years, nothing has changed. Nothing has changed. I'm convinced that we were brought here. And this information, our history, it's in our DNA, and it is surfacing, and it is forcing us to ask these very important questions. Historians, anthropologists, professors, PhDs, professionals, they can't answer these questions. They cannot do it. They can't. They can't. I will go toe-to-toe with anybody, any academic professional. I'll go toe-to-toe on this. They can argue the dogma, but they can't prove anything. It doesn't exist. Right? All right. This is Fade to Black. Tonight's going to be an epic show. Why? Richard Bleepin Dolan is here. Tomorrow night, we're going to have John Rappaport here with his No More Fake News Room. We're going to be taking your phone calls all night long. Now, next week, I got your email. You know who sent it. I read the post on Twitter. Next week, I'm going to do a Twitter night. Okay, so next week, it's just going to be you and I. Okay, so get prepared for that. That'll be next week. And the lineup that we have, oh, by the way, I don't want to disclose anything, but we've got another first-time guest next week that I have no idea how this has slipped between the cracks. But you just wait until next week and what is going on there. This is Fade to Black. I am your host, Jimmy Church. Tonight, Richard Bleepin Dolan, all night long on the Game Changer Network and KGRA The Planet. Email is jimmy@jimmychurchradio.com. Twitter is @jchurchradio. It's very simple, isn't it? Chat rooms, Spreaker, and KGRA The Planet. I'll be right back with tonight's guest, Richard Dolan. Stay with us.
You're listening to Jimmy Church, Fade to Black.
Fade to Black will now pause for alien identification.
The station that talks the net. KGRA Radio. When you take the beans from Central America with dashes of Indonesian and African mixed in and then roast it to the dark side of Fade to Black, you create the ultimate brew of fringe. Introducing the Fade to Black blend from Rivermoon Coffee. Yes, Rivermoon's darkest customized roast was created for the love of Fade to Black. The alchemy of masterful roasting and smoking the beans is in every sip of this full-bodied dark Java. I need my coffee dark, deep, with distinct bittersweet chocolate highlights, just like the bunker. Leaning further into the darkness of the roast is Fade to Black blend from Rivermoon Coffee. Just click on the banner at jimmychurchradio.com and use the promo code F2BBLEND for 15% off of your order today. Go Beckley Teppy.
What can I say about the most popular tea on the internet? And what do customers say about Life Change Tea at getthetea.com? A lot. But by federal law, we at getthetea.com cannot make claims to how this product can enhance your health. We cannot even post our testimonies without being in compliance. So how do we get past the hump? Try our products at getthetea.com and see for yourself. You can send us a testimony, but we just can't post it. Bummer. Our products are GMO-free and organic. We pride ourselves in being the best we can be, and we urge you to take charge of your health. We're 11 years strong, and many of our customers have shared their successes with friends and family. Protect your colon. Log on to getthetea.com. That's getthetea.com. Getthetea.com. Getthetea.com.
9 out of 10 geneticists agree.
Fade to Black is not your father's radio show on the Game Changer Radio Network and KGRA, The Planet.
Win big with KGRA this summer. Tickets and hotel accommodations to the biggest conferences, autographed books and DVDs, chances to win all-inclusive conference cruises, and private dinners with your favorite KGRA hosts. Click the contest tab at kgraradio.com for your chance to win big this summer. Your contact for the best alternative talk radio on the planet. kgraradio.com.
Hi, this is Rob Reiner from Anvil, and you're listening to JimmyChurchRadio.com.
What's up? I'm Chris. What up? This is Kyle Massey, and you're listening to Jimmy Church Radio.
All right, welcome back. Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church, on the Game Changer Network and KGRA, The Planet. This segment of Fade to Black is proudly brought to you by Life Change Tea. Just go over to the banners at jimmychurchradio.com. Click. Use the promo code FADER, F-A-D-E-R. You'll get yourself free shipping. That's right. Tonight, Richard Dolan. He's one of the world's leading researchers and writers on the subject of UFOs. That's right, and he believes they constitute the greatest mystery of our time, because it does. Richard completed his graduate work at the University of Rochester, where he studied U.S. Cold War strategy, European history, and international diplomacy. Before that, he had studied at Alfred University and Oxford University, and he has been a finalist for a Rhodes Scholarship. He's the author of UFOs and National Security State. He co-authored with Bryce Zabel, AD After Disclosure, and his latest book, UFOs in the 21st Century Mind. Yes, and of course, I'm going to ask him about his forthcoming book on false flags. He also hosts his weekly radio show right here on KGRA, The Richard Dolan Show. And he's a frequent guest over at Coast to Coast AM. And he's currently featured on many television series and documentaries, including Ancient Aliens, Hangar One, UFO Files, Close Encounters. And he's also got his new show over on Gaia TV. In addition to his research, he has Richard Dolan Press, and he actively publishes innovative books about authors from around the world. Tonight, the gloves are on. We're going to discuss everything inside and outside of our UFO community, and I would like to welcome back to Fade to Black, the one and only Richard Bleepin Dolan. Richard, good evening.
Hello, Jimmy. Mr. Jimmy, it's a pleasure to be here.
Do you know how long it's been since you've been on the show?
2 weeks?
Yeah, you would think,
2.5
right?
weeks, I'm thinking.
November 2017.
No way. Come on. That's impossible.
I know. You've done a couple
I refuse to believe that.
I know. You've done some special appearances. You've done some drive-bys, but you haven't been on. How's that possible?
A birthday song with you.
I know. Where was that?
I sang. Let me just add, I sang Pretty Perfect Harmony. I made that song succeed.
When we hit those harmonies, and to watch 150 people spin around and look and go, wow, They hit it. It took 2.5 minutes, but they got there. That was pretty cool, man. That was pretty cool.
It was a lot of fun. I'm a bit surprised that it has been since November.
I know. I know.
I'm a bit surprised.
Yeah, you did something in February, a drive-by. Anyway, welcome back, man. Welcome back. We talk often, but it's
you
been
did
a while.
have you had someone, I guess, a family member, someone that I'm married to, on your show a couple of months ago,
and you did a drive-by. That's all you did, a drive-by. You stopped by. So welcome back, and so much has gone down this year. But before we get there, I want to.
Yes.
I'm sure you were listening to my little opening statement, and if you didn't, I'll blindside you right now.
Okay.
In all of your UFO research, the question that I often ask myself is, how did we get here? How did Homo sapiens sapien get here? And I'm sure you've thought about that a lot. And before I ask you that question, you know how to make an OK sign, right? You know, with your thumb and forefinger, right? You make the OK sign. Yeah. This is what I want you to do, Richard, after the show. I want you to go outside of your beautiful home up there in upstate New York. I want you to walk out, look at the night sky and the stars. Find a blank spot, a black spot where there's no stars, and take the OK sign that you know how to make and go up to that blank spot in the sky, hold it up, and look through the OK sign. Because when you do that little black chunk of the sky, you are looking at 175,000 galaxies.
That's amazing.
Right?
That's amazing.
That's amazing.
When we think of it in that perspective,
175,000.
we realize just how tiny we are. We have our own grandness in our existence, but when we do, what a beautiful thing to do. And you know what? I will do that. Tracy and I will do that when we're done here.
It's an amazing thought.
I think it's a beautiful and very thought-provoking experience to do, and I'm glad that you mentioned that. So thank you for that. And
175,000. And each one of those galaxies, 500 billion to a trillion stars in each. Right? And then you start to break. It's just like, whoa. And you can do that anywhere in the night sky, right? And go to the southern hemisphere and have another crack at it, right? It's everywhere. But the thought of us being alone in this big, beautiful universe of ours is ludicrous. It's just it's an impossibility. But how did we get here, Richard? How did you get to the point where you are able to think intelligently and ask the questions?
Wow, are we going here tonight? This is a
how is it? How is it possible that it's just us on this planet and nobody else has evolved in the last 10, 20 million years? But in 200,000 years, you evolved to the point where you could marry Tracy and laugh and contemplate and have emotions and wonder about the universe. How is that possible?
Well, I guess I have to say I don't know how it's possible, but when I reflect on it, we are told, and scientists will tell us, that the Earth is about 4.6 billion years old. We're told that life, microbial life, has existed on this planet for, something like, 3 billion years. Complex organisms, much less than 1 billion years, or at least highly complex. So all of this takes time to develop a certain level of complexity so that we are able to exist. And, other animals have different levels of consciousness, and some have I would imagine, very high levels of consciousness in many cases. But we have a certain uniqueness about us, I think, and it took a long time for us to get here. On the other hand, if you really think about it, we've organized a very high level of consciousness in less than 1 billion years, as far as life goes. The universe, we believe this universe, is said to be about 13 to 14 billion years old. So I don't know. They say some scientists will say that consciousness is the whole point of this universe. In fact, that it is the foundation of the universe, and I'm inclined to think maybe that's so. I mean, there's answers that I'll never ever have. The one thing I'll just add, though, before we move on to wherever you want to go, is that example you have of having the OK sign and looking at the however many trillions of stars and billions of galaxies. There was a great philosopher about 300 plus years ago, Blaise Pascal. Many people know of him.
Yep.
He's actually one of my favorites. And Pascal made a comment once. He wrote, when you look at the scale of the human being, we're so much tinier than the largest expanse of the universe that we're just insignificant, but we're so much larger than the tiniest cellular organism or whatever he was able to conceive of. He says the tiniest atom is as small to us as we are to the largest galaxy. He says we're kind of in this strange middle ground, it seems. And that he said both of these extremes are, or at least from his perspective, kind of off limits to us. Like we couldn't really understand them. It's kind of an interesting perspective, like the tiniest of the tiny and the largest of the large. And of course, 3-4 centuries have gone by, and we are exploring those great mysteries pretty well. But I've often pondered on Pascal. I think there's so much that is like there are different universes all around us all the time, the very great and the very small. And so here we are in the middle. Yeah,
and the part that really confuses me, and we don't have the answers for, and it's unbelievable that we don't. Well, I know why we don't, which is Homo sapiens sapien, 200,000 years on this planet. 200,000 years. That's it.
That's it. I know. It's so fast.
I just it
How did
blows
you get
my
onto this? I have been thinking about this, and Tracy could tell you, like for particularly the last month, I have just on my own. Maybe it's the ancient aliens phenomenon and wondering about the ancient astronauts and how did we get here, just as you were asking. But I've actually been reading a few books, just academic books, standard university books on human prehistory, because I'm trying to figure this out. Mm-hmm. I want to know what are the conventional historians and the conventional prehistorians, where are they at in human history? Because I want to know what they know. And then I want to know everything that like Graham Hancock knows. And I want to know everything that all these other people who are exploring this know, because I'm tired of not knowing it. It's kind of how I felt 25 years ago when I first encountered the UFO mystery in general in the modern era. I wanted to know what the other experts knew. I didn't like having this big question mark over my head. And I've been feeling lately very similarly relating to human prehistory. So it's just kind of interesting that you brought this up when you did.
See, I think it's been triggered in our DNA. The information is there, right? Yeah. And suddenly we're starting to ask, some very big, difficult questions. And the 200,000 years obviously is not enough time for us to evolve into who we are. But the whole missing link issue, which has not been resolved, and everything that exists on this planet in the fossil record doesn't fit into us. I don't care what anthropologists say or
I don't know. I guess we would have to debate that. I don't know if I would agree with you. I mean, there's always missing pieces of the archaeological evidence because, after all, bones don't really survive very well when you go thousands and millions of years, and there's a lot of history to cover, but I don't know if I would agree that there's no missing link, or I'm not sure if I really understand even what that means anymore. 200,000 years ago, we have the first remains that we are aware of humans who are like us. So that's Homo sapiens sapiens, as we call it. At the same time, we had genetic cousins, the Neanderthals, who you could meet a Neanderthal in a modern suit, and you might think, well, he looks a little odd, but he seems like a regular guy. So they looked similar enough to us. I mean, there were differences, of course, but they had a larger brain capacity than we do, actually, and they were as tough as nails, like tougher than any football player out there. But they were, they lived during our period of time and a little bit before. And then there were earlier versions of the human body plan and the human being. So I don't know. I mean, I don't know all of the answers, but it is very strange. I will agree. 200,000 years is not a long time, but then think about this. This is something that's been garnering my attention, which is we've been here 200,000 years and we have had what we call civilization for less than 10,000 years, less than that. So we've had writing for roughly 6,000 years. Cuneiform, as far as we know, that was invented in Sumer about 4,000 BCE, so you're talking 6,000 years ago. The wheel was invented around the same time. Shortly before that, we get some domestication of animals and of the grains. So you basically go back, let's say, 10,000 years. And prior to that, human beings lived exclusively as hunters and gatherers for 190,000 of those years. And then we began the most radical of transformations, that is, the agricultural revolution. And transformed us. We domesticated ourselves fundamentally, and we changed ourselves biologically and, of course, socially and intellectually in many ways. But that's the transformation that just keeps getting my attention. Like, we went as in a certain way for nearly 200,000 years, and then boom, changed ourselves completely. I can't wrap my brain around that.
No, and I think about it all the time. And this is my twisted way of resolving the issue. Think about this for a second, Richard. You've got a caveman sitting in a cave. Wife walks in and she says, "What are you doing? Why aren't you out there getting us some food? We need to survive another day and night on this planet." And he's sitting there and he says, "I just figured it out. I've just domesticated wheat." Right? She's going to go, "What? Wait. We need to eat now." "No, but I figured it out. I've domesticated wheat." How does that light bulb go off with Stone Age man?
I'm actually reading a book on this, and it's a book by a standard university historian. And I'm just going to mention, he's probably going to be horrified that a UFO guy is talking about his work because he's over, I think, at Yale or somewhere. James C. Scott, a book called Against the Grain, and it's a really quite an excellent book on how this all happened. And one thing he points out, and I have to say he really has enlightened me on some of my misconceptions. His argument, and I think it sounds like he's got a reasonable argument, is that the hunter-gatherers they had a pretty good life, at least in certain parts of the world. Certainly Mesopotamia, 10,000+ years ago, that was a very good environment to live in. They had a better diet. They lived healthier. They had a larger brain capacity than the farmers did. They had less drudgery, in his argument. So the question that he was asking is, why bother domesticating grain at all? And I haven't gotten to his crux yet as to why, but I think the part of the answer is in population pressures that required that grain provided a solution to. But actually, his argument is that if you look at nomads around the world, you have to really force them to bow down to agriculture. Like, they have a life that they actually become quite attached to, semi-nomadic, and it's not all just one thing. You've got pastoralism. They do have some grains that they will grow. It's not like they never grow anything. So there's a little bit of this, a little bit of that. It's a very, very interesting book, and one thing that it really has helped me is develop a great appreciation for the incredible sophistication that was required to be a true hunter-gatherer. You had to engage in nature in a way that even farmers don't really engage. Farmers grow one crop or a couple of crops and, have a couple of animals. If you're a hunter-gatherer, you have to know all the bird patterns, the migration patterns of all the animals and all of everything else. And you've got like a 2-week window for this herd to come over here for their migration. You've got a 3-week window for that one, and you've got to be on top of all of it. And it required a level of cognition that I think he argued is that we actually kind of dumbed ourselves down. with the advent of civilization. And it's funny because you only could really get an academician making this argument, but I think he really argues that this whole civilization thing was a big mistake. So I'm not sure I'm going to go that far, but I think that actually is part of his argument. And from a certain point of view, you could say, well, yeah, the guy's got a point. Maybe we've dumbed ourselves down. And it makes me think. It makes me wonder, you take this into our own civilization, and all anyone has to do is look around them. And I'm not here to knock all of my neighbors or knock anyone else that I'm friends with, but, most of us, what do we really do with our lives? How much are we really engaging ourselves when it comes to our life and this world and everything around us? And how deeply are most of us really thinking about things? And maybe the answer is not so much. And maybe the answer is we don't really do a whole lot compared to our ancestors of 10,000, 20,000 years ago.
Well, when you're told, your whole life growing up, all you need to do is get out of high school and get a job, get married, so you can get your first car and make your first car payment and start to establish your credit, because that's what life is about. And your golden ring at the end of the rainbow is going to be a paid-for house with a pool in the back, and then you can have your children do the same thing. That is the meaning of life.
Yeah, and you can't convince me that going to high school and sitting at the same desk and listening to the same teacher and talking to the same people day after day is going to be the same level of education as living out in the wild, studying nature.
That's right.
On a daily basis. There's no way you're going to tell me that that's the same kind of mental experience. I think there's absolutely no comparison between the two. And when you think of it that way, you really could argue we have not simply domesticated ourselves, we really have transformed ourselves, as he pointed out in this book, Against the Grain, physiologically. But we have truly domesticated not just the animals and grains, but ourselves. And in some ways, it's made life easier in some cases, but in a lot of ways, it's made it perhaps much less interesting, and we are much less engaged as actual animals and creatures on this planet than our ancestors were. Just a thought.
Well, it may be part of the bigger complex issue, which is we've got to go through breaking the system down before we can learn from our mistakes. And maybe part of that is we have to have a couple of generations make it to the age of 65 and retire with their paid-for house and the pool in the back, and they look around and ask themselves, is this what life is all about?
Exactly. Hey, one of the greatest stories, I tell this to everyone who bothers to ask me. If anyone wants a really great story to read.
Well, let me ask you, what's a really great story that you can share with us?
Well, I would say the best short story that you could read in a day or two is Leo Tolstoy's The Death of Ivan Ilyich. And I would recommend it. I've recommended it for years and years, and I'll recommend it until I can't recommend books anymore. But Ivan Ilyich, and I'm not going to give it away for anyone who wants to read it, but it's an absolute work of genius, and it's a little slice of genius by Tolstoy. So he wrote War and Peace, which of course is always worth your effort. It's one of those once-in-a-lifetime things to do. But The Death of Ivan Ilyich is a little slice of that, and it's about a 19th century version of a yuppie, basically. This guy named Ivan Ilyich, who's a lawyer, and then he becomes a judge, and then he, and he gets a house just like everyone else gets, and he thinks, oh, this is what I want. And he has a wife that he's not really in love with, and he's got kids that he's not really, that close with them, and he's got his job, his career, and then he has an injury, and then he realizes he's dying, and he goes through this long night of the soul. First, he's just obsessed with his own physical agony, but then he has a conversation, and it's really with his soul, is what you find out. And the whole thing is, what is it that matters in life? What if I've lived my life wrong? That's the question. It's the question that haunts him. And it's a question everyone should ask, because when you get to that certain point in your life at the end of the road, right? Because everyone's got to get there. We all have to deal with this. The last thing any of us wants after a lifetime of whatever it is we think we're doing that's important is when we stop and reflect and look back and we think, I cannot believe I've just wasted all of these years doing fill in the blank. That's what you don't want to happen.
That's right.
And that's what happened to Ivan Ilyich.
There's another book that I've just written that down. I have not read it, and I will. But there's another book I'm going to recommend, and I do it all the time. But it's called "What Makes Sammy Run." Have you ever read it?
I've never heard of it.
Okay, by Bud Schulberg, and it's about Sammy Glick. It's about Hollywood. Now, it was written back in 1941, but I can assure you, Richard, that everybody in radio, television, and the movie industry here in Southern California, every employee has read this book. Okay, wow. It's required reading for survival in Hollywood. But the message about life, and you can just get it from the title, right? What Makes Sammy Run? And read it. It's an unbelievably harsh, real book. I mean, that's all I can say. What Makes Sammy Run? So there you go.
Duly noted.
Yeah, and so I have to, the only conclusion that I can come to, I keep going back to ground zero. 200,000 years, it just doesn't make a whole lot of sense. We just appeared here. Where did our intelligence come from? You're absolutely right. 10,000 years ago, everything just, started burning on all cylinders. And I think we were placed here. I think we were dropped off. And I'm okay with that. I don't know if it was some wild cosmic experiment, if it was just something that was on a meteor or an asteroid that crashed here, whatever the case may be. But I just think we appeared. I don't think we evolved here. And that's why the historians and the anthropologists out there cannot prove any of this, because the proof isn't on Earth. It's somewhere else.
All right, well, I guess I will say that I don't believe that we were just placed here. I guess I'll disagree with you respectfully.
That's fine.
But I do ask myself, have we been tweaked? Have we been managed? I mean, even according to any evolutionary standard, human evolution took place really rapidly. You look at animals like the shark; they haven't changed in millions of years. The horse. You go to the Museum of Natural History in New York City, and you see a beautiful exhibition of the evolution of the horse, going back from like 50 million years ago to today. And the horse back then was like the size of a small dog, and it didn't have hooves, and it evolved because, well, the environment evolved. But here we are, much less than 50 million years, really less, and we've just evolved very, very rapidly indeed. So there's something unusual about it, and maybe I ask myself, have we been managed or modified? And in the 200,000 years that our species has been here, has there been room for either a rise and fall of some kind of civilization that we haven't learned about? And I don't know the answer to that. I've sometimes entertained all kinds of possibilities. Or B, have we been tweaked during that period of time? And I don't know the answer to these. But this is why, when we look at the ancient UFO phenomenon, there's no question that as long as human beings have been here, we have encountered what we believe is the other, whether it's the gods or other beings of some sort. Like, that's a long-standing part, maybe the longest standing part of our history. And so there's a lot of opportunity there's a lot of holes in our history, I guess I'll put it that way. And I don't know if we're really going to get the answers that we want, to the certainty that we want, but I do think that there's a lot of possibility for some unusual things in our deep history. I guess I'm not of the opinion that we were dropped off here, but I guess I would be of the opinion that it is possible that we've been managed in one way or another.
Last question before the break. What was the last song you listened to today?
Oh, I was waiting for this.
I know.
Well, it was, I don't know if this counts, but Tracy and I listened to the theme song of Game of Thrones. So is that a song? That's a pretty cool song.
I just watched, I got to think about it. I'll pick it up when we come back. I just watched the beginning of a new series, and the music was, it's got to be the same writer for Game of Thrones, and I did that last night. It's so funny. I'll think about that, and I'll bring it up after the break.
Before that, I was out and about.
Yes?
Oh, and it was More Than a Woman by the Bee Gees.
Oh, there you now you're talking. Our guest tonight, Richard Bleepin Dolan. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. This is Fade to Black on the Game Changer Network. and KGRA, The Planet. More with Richard after this short break. Stay with us.
This is Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Radio Network and KGRA, the Global Radio Alliance.
This is KGRA Digital Broadcasting Station, Salt Lake City, Utah, Van Buren, Arkansas.
Does your basement or crawl space have a damp, musty smell? Well, watch out! That's a sign of too much moisture and not enough ventilation. And that can mean increased mold growth and the buildup of harmful toxins and gases. Don't bother with a dehumidifier. It just circulates the same unhealthy air. Now there's a better way to remove these dangers and odors. It's with the computerized Wave Moisture Control Unit that reduces moisture and expels pollutants.
We replaced our old dehumidifier with the Wave unit, and in only 3 weeks, our basement is dry and the musty smell is gone.
Wave units require no maintenance, no buckets of water or filters, and costs only pennies a day to run. Breathe better, live healthier with an affordable, no-maintenance Wave unit. Call 888-717-WAVE, 888-717-WAVE, or visit dryhealthyhome.com. Dryhealthyhome.com.
Ride the wave. Wave Home Solutions for a healthy, comfortable home.
Hello, I'm Katie, and you're listening to my main man, Jimmy Church, on jimmychurchradio.com.
Hi, this is Ray Hobbs here, repping the planet, and you're listening to my good friend, Jimmy Church, Fade to Black, on the Game Changer Network and the KGRA Digital Broadcast Station.
This is Toby Kebbell. You're listening to jimmychurchradio.com. Don't hurt me, Jimmy. I'm only little.
Hey, I'm Adrian Grenier. And this is Ari Gold. We're the Honey Brothers. Yes. We are of the Honey Brothers. Hey, I'm Adrian Grenier.
And I'm Ari Gold.
We're the Honey Brothers.
And you're listening to Jimmy Church.
The Revolution.
Ancient Life Oil. Life-changing. The real oil. CBD is truly ancient life oil from the source. This oil has no psychoactive effect and is also legal in all 50 states. When you're healthy, you're happy. The truth about this wonderful plant is that it wants to give back to mankind life, longevity, and happiness. Ancient Life Oil are golden grade, all organic, non-GMO, and infused with high-quality liquid coconut oil. It's simple. Just go to ancientlifeoil.com today. That's ancientlifeoil.com. The best, purest, organic, and non-GMO CBD in the world. Go Beckley Tappy. The statements made regarding these products have not been evaluated by the Food and Drug Administration. These products are not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease. Please consult your healthcare professional about potential interactions or other possible complications before using any product.
This is Micah Hanks of the Gralien Report, and you're listening to Jimmy Church on Fade to Black, across the globe on the Game Changer Radio Network and the one and only KGRA Radio, The Planet.
Welcome back, Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Our guest tonight, Richard Bleepin Dolan. This segment of Fade to Black is probably brought to you by River Moon Coffee, makers of the Fade to Black blend. Click on the banner over at jimmychurchradio.com. Get yourself some Fade to Black blend. Best coffee in the world. Promo code F2B blend. It's right there. Richard, what we have to do, this is what we have to do. Our next conference together is we've got to work out a Bee Gees song. And we got to work out those harmonies. I can do the high harmonies.
Yeah. You want to do the Barry Gibb?
Yeah, I can do the Barry Gibb.
You want to do the Barry Gibb? I'll do...
Oh, man.
Bring Jimmy Fallon in. Help us out.
Oh, man. Oh, it'll be the last conference we ever do, but we're going to go down in flames.
I'm a Bee Gees fan. I mean, I
love the Bee Gees.
Without shame. I think disco's awesome.
I have no shame in that at all. I don't. And whenever Rita and I, this was years ago, went through a huge Bee Gees phase, right? The live videos, the music, and I'm walking around the house singing the Bee Gees and doing my best Barry Gibb, and I swear I've never had more objects thrown at me. It's like, honey, I have it, and no, you don't. You think you
Barry
do.
Gibb is unique. Like he just owned that falsetto. He just leaned right into it, and he just did it. Like no one else could make that work, but somehow that guy made it work.
He did, and he had
give it to him.
And he had teeth. Just amazing teeth. Okay, now let's change gears. Let's get off the Bee Gees and talk some UFOs. Here we are, Richard. We're at the end of August. 2018 is about to end. I know it sounds crazy, but we can chalk off another year on this beautiful blue planet. But it's coming up to almost a year now since TTSA's To the Stars Academy's announcements and the New York Times back in December. And it's kind of fizzled. And I don't want to have that, I'm a glasses half full kind of guy. But what happened?
Oh, I don't know. I'm taking a different perspective on this. First of all, when the New York Times and the Washington Post did their pieces on this back in December of 2017, a lot of people, I guess, will say, "Oh my God, this was the most amazing thing! Hallelujah! It's disclosure." And how no one has any historical memory. I mean, for me, I thought, "Oh yeah, it's kind of cool. This is not the worst article I would normally expect out of the New York Times or the Washington Post, which I think are both two reprehensible publications. And I just have to say this because it's true. But yes, the articles that they did, particularly the two that were in the New York Times, were at least reasonable beginning points. So they were not terrible. They definitely had their own spin to them, but we'll leave that aside. It was good that they did it. But, we forget that through the previous decades, going back even into the 1940s and 50s and 60s and every decade one can imagine, there have always been major revelations concerning the UFO phenomenon and reality. They have never stopped. They have continually put themselves right in our front row, in our front vision here. And the 1950s had their moment where people thought, oh, wow, the government's going to have to acknowledge the reality of this. And the 1960s had their moment where we thought, it looks like the government may just acknowledge the reality of this. And it happened in the late 70s with freedom of information. And it happened briefly during parts of the 1980s even, and then in the 1990s. And with the various press conferences of the 21st century, sometimes people wondered. And now here we are again. So this is actually part of a much longer pattern of the UFO phenomenon occasionally getting significant attention, and then it's almost like we have this constant state of amnesia that just comes over us as a society. Now, is that happening again? In terms of TTSA, seems to me that a lot of attention, particularly in the beginning, was put on Tom DeLonge. Understandable. He was a singer in a band, and he was the front person of this organization. But the one that I'm interested in, and really is the only one that I personally know, is Hal Puthoff. And I find Hal Puthoff's involvement in this to continue to be quite fascinating. And, it's funny watching, I'm over on the sidelines here watching people talk about TTSA, and lots of people say it's a CIA operation, don't trust them, or it's a money-making operation, don't trust it. I guess I would say, well, first of all, it's not a crime to make money. And if you want to make money out of something, go do it. The only thing is don't destroy the subject you're working if you're going to make money off of it, but nothing wrong with that. In terms of the CIA, that's a little different. So what is the motivation of these guys? Well, I look at Puthoff's company, Earth Tech, and I mean, I just found it fascinating. In the last couple of weeks, they put out this press conference. They're looking for essentially materials from crash retrievals. I'm like, are you serious? And that is essentially what they're putting this out there. Like, how is that not interesting? I think that's quite fascinating. I listened very, very with a great deal of attention to Hal Puthoff's speech that he gave to the Society of Scientific Exploration, SSE, last June, not that long ago. And for anyone who is listening to that carefully, that was one bombshell after another. So there's a lot of interesting stuff that's out there for anyone who's willing to listen. And I think part of the situation is that people really are expecting it's like the second coming, coming down, giving us disclosure and solving all of our problems all at once. And I don't really know all of the motivations for everyone in TTSA. I'm sure everyone's got their own selfish reason for doing what they do. Everyone does. There's no exception to that rule. So that doesn't make them different from anyone else. The real thing that I want to know is, what are they offering us? Are they really fizzling out? Well, maybe not. And my attitude is I'm just going to take the long view on this and see how this all plays out. But I'm not going to go down the road of so many people have said this is total CIA disinformation. Well, show me how. Show me how. One thing that I would say is that the coverage by the New York Times and particularly by the Washington Post are always to be taken as propaganda, always, like without exception. And I respect Leslie Kean, by the way, and she was the key author of the New York Times pieces. But that doesn't change the reality of what she has to deal with when you're dealing with an organization like the New York Times. So spin is involved, connections with national security are involved, yes. But nonetheless, genuine information came out. Look, they gave us a lot of publicity on the Tic Tac UFO incident from 2004. That's important. They gave us information on other events, the gimbal UFO video, and I know folks over at Metabunk have tried to debunk it. And I listened to that argument very, very carefully, and there's some brilliant people on that site, without a doubt. But I listened to Putoff talk about that. I listened to some of the other folks involved talk about it, and they are standing by it. And until they completely disavow it, I'm going to find that interesting. And I don't believe that video is a hoax. I don't believe that the audio is a hoax. So if those Navy pilots were mystified by that particular object, then I don't believe that they were chasing down some commercial airliner, as has been argued. So there's something about it that's interesting to me. So they've given us a few things. I had a long conversation about this with Peter Levenda, who, as you know, and I'm sure as many listeners know, co-authored a book with Tom DeLonge. I have great respect for Peter Levenda. Always have. I've known him for years. He's a very serious-minded individual and a very insightful person. And, I have my own radio program. I had him on, and he gave a very spirited defense of what they were trying to do. And his attitude was, look, what do people want? We've given out, we've put out videos, we've handed things to them, and everyone wants to attack us. Well, I mean, there's two sides to every story here. But from their point of view, they did they did what they could do. It was a sloppy rollout. I mean, without a doubt. I mean, completely, just horrible Mylar balloon and all that other nonsense was just awful. But I'm not really willing to say that it's fizzled out. I want to see where this goes, and I'm particularly got my eyes on Hal Putoff, and I want to see what he's up to over the next few weeks and months and years.
I was the opposite of you with my reaction to December 2017, in that I nearly crashed my car. I was so excited. I did. I almost hit a bus. I was making a right-hand turn. Yeah. It's a true story, man. And so once I vetted everything and saw the explosion, I heard it over and over again. We went live. That was on a Saturday, and we went live with a special broadcast. And my enthusiasm and my happiness for the UFO community was, it's without measure. I was just so excited. But it has been a steady decline since then, and it's almost like it's kind of grounded out. And there was an opportunity there for To the Stars to keep their foot on the gas and keep this rolling. And it's, since then, it's been a lot of repeating of the same information over and over again in the media. It's their PR firm is trying to keep the story alive, no doubt. But I don't know where they're going to go next. It has to be an elevated thing. And it's, for me, it's, my fingers are crossed, Richard.
Well, part of it has to do with the kind of hero worship that really did happen of Tom DeLonge himself. And I'm not trying to knock him, by the way. I mean, I met him one time, and I thought he was very decent with me, and I had a very it was fine. I had this was a couple of years before all of this kind of blew up, and but I mean, honestly, people kind of invested him as like, the new Jesus, the disclosure Jesus. And I mean, it's just like, maybe he kind of played into it as well. I mean, he actually, I think, probably did, but no, come on, this was just ridiculous. And then his leadership really has to be criticized. I mean, and here I am, a Monday morning quarterback from all over here, but some of his public appearances were just not good. They were not helpful, and they did not help the cause. And so, you have this initial rollout that's got all these bells and whistles and hope attached to it, and then suddenly, by really January or in February at the latest, crashing and burning. So it was a spectacle without a doubt. But the thing is with me, like, if the president, or if any president, whether it would be Obama or Trump or whoever comes after, were to come in and say UFOs are real, I don't know how emotional I would get. I would be like, oh, cool. Like, and then now we've got more work to do. We have work to do. Like, it's just how I am. I don't really get it. I don't get that way. So for me, I feel like, I wouldn't be inclined to get overly disappointed, because I don't expect anything to work out perfectly ever. I just don't. Not in this world. We've got this great ability, this species of ours and this power structure of ours, to just screw things up royally. So there'll be good things in the future, and disclosure, if there ever is a genuine disclosure, or even a deceptive disclosure, which I think is much more likely anyway. If that happens, it's not the end of the world if it's deceptive. It's our job, always our job, to keep moving that ball forward. So that's really how it is. And TTSA's got their part. It has been a part, and it hasn't been a waste of time. Hasn't been a waste of time. We're still in a different place now psychologically as a society right now than we were before December of 2017. So there has been that change. And one thing that it has to be said in those New York Times pieces is that TTSA really got no credit for any of that stuff, but everyone knows they were behind the publication of those articles. They were pushing it. So that's a positive thing. And whatever else happens, if they do nothing else, the ball's been moved a little bit farther down the field, in my opinion. If you
were in an advisory capacity to the stars, what is it that they should do next?
Well, they need to do some serious and well thought out public statements, and like serious, so like not goofy stuff, like a few interviews that probably anyone who's been following this can think about, but like serious-minded interviews that are professional and that actually have genuine information to provide. And again, I think some of the statements recently that they've just made relating to we're interested in studying alleged crash retrievals. I mean, holy smokes, Pal Putoff all but practically stated in his speech last June that, they had crash retrieval materials that were completely unexplainable technologically. I mean, I don't know how much more clearly he could have said it other than just saying it. So they've actually put a lot of interesting information out there in that manner. But I think, they need to really they need a better public relations presentation for sure.
If I was, and yourself included, I think very highly of you. If you were in possession of some type of material, and I don't know what that material could be, but you would disclose it. I think you would have a press conference. You would completely reveal what you have. And sitting on this, or saying it's in a warehouse in Las Vegas, or it's in Texas, and we're studying it. That's you need to be a martyr. You need to just go. You need to just expose it, show us, and tell us where it came from. Did it come from the Pentagon? Did it come from the military-industrial complex? Was it sent to you from somebody in the middle of Kansas?
Oh, yeah. And I'm pretty sure that I would do that. I think that I would be as open as I could possibly be about it. My guess, I don't know what they've got in that Las Vegas warehouse that's apparently run by Robert Bigelow, but I suspect that the bismuth magnesium piece that Hal Puthoff talked about in his June speech this year is one of those pieces that they're talking about. And in fact, the provenance of that isn't a crash retrieval. At least we don't know the provenance of that one. That actually was sent to Art Bell years ago, I think back in the 90s, and from a source that they couldn't test. But according to Hal in his lecture on this, back in the 90s, no one could understand what this thing was, what it was for, what its properties were, until only recently, he argued, are we actually beginning to understand some of the waveguide properties of this thing. And it's a highly sophisticated piece of machinery, and no one knows who made it or how it was made. So it's interesting, What else does Bigelow have? Damned if I know. I have no idea what he's got there. And I agree with you. Like, this has to be out there. And by the way, where's our corporate media? Where is the New York Times? And I'm not faulting the writers of that article. I know that they have no power. That all these decisions are made in the upper echelons of the New York Times and the Washington Post and the corporate media, which we all know. If you don't know about what Operation Mockingbird was, you can look it up. It still exists. All right. And so they have decided not to follow up and to ask these very questions. What's in that warehouse? When can we see it? What studies have been made of it? How did you acquire it? All of the reasonable, logical questions that everyone would have about it. No one in the establishment media has asked a single question, and that should tell us all we need to know about how well they do their jobs, which is not well at all.
Well, that article, when I read through it the first time, a secret Pentagon program, no surprise there. There's plenty of those to go around.
Right.
The videos,
and we know there were multiple of those programs.
Right. None of that, a pilot coming forward, David Fravor, great guy, upstand, no doubt, right? All cool. The one thing in that article was the warehouse in Las Vegas. It's just like, wait a minute here. That's the golden nugget. And no follow-up. I cannot believe. If you want to hand a story to some gumshoe journalist, right, that's going to go out there and knock the walls down, give him that, right? Give him that. That you have years of reporting in front of you. No follow-up. You're absolutely right. That was the one nugget right there, and it was a gift. Nothing.
And I don't know for sure. I'm purely speculating here, but I mean, I have some understanding of how these organizations work, and the journalists who are writing these pieces, they do not have total control over the piece. I guarantee it. So there are editorial decisions that are made as to how to present that. For example, the fact that the New York Times gratuitously put in statements by two completely irrelevant skeptics in one of the articles, their lead article on that. I mean, those statements added nothing at all to the piece whatsoever. They were simply psychological placeholders for skepticism. I can guarantee you, I would bet my final dollar that was a decision of the highest levels of the editorial. It had nothing to do with what the journalists wanted. I'm just going to guess that. And similarly, the fact that there's been no follow-up, that there's a reason for that. There's absolutely a reason for that, even though there's incredible opportunity for follow-up journalism on this. So, that should just tell us the New York Times is useless. They're great for starting wars. They're awesome for that. They're great at hiding crimes that are committed by the true elite who really run this society of ours. And I won't get too derailed on that, but that's also the case. But they're for genuine journalism. they're less than useless. In fact, you should just avoid them. So that leaves the door open for independent journalists. And the question is whether or not they can get access to someone like Robert Bigelow and ask some questions. There are good people in the mainstream. There's George Knapp, who I know is one of the good guys, and maybe George. I don't want to put the pressure on him, but maybe he can do an interview with Bigelow and try to get some information out, or someone else, right? I mean, there's always opportunities there, but let's not expect it from the establishment media. They're not on our side.
Yeah, and you know the problem that I have with some of those out there, and it's just they know that I'm not going to throw softball questions out there. And so they avoid me like the plague. No, of course you wouldn't,
and because you are actually a good journalist, and there are other good journalists out there too, and so it's up to us, those of us who care, to try to get some of these answers, and it's not easy. I mean, it's not easy, but that's our job. I mean, we've got to get these answers. New York Times, it's good that they published what they did, but we cannot expect true honesty from them, and we can't expect them to do anything other than self-serving news / propaganda for whatever purposes they want. But But the fact is, there was genuine information they put out there, so I'm glad about that. I am glad about that. Some of that got out there, but we really can't expect honesty from these people either.
We've got about 2 minutes before the break. Do you think that the New York Times published that article because of professional connections and pressure from a PR firm to publish that in connection with Washington, but to the stars? Or do you think that they would have published that article on their own?
No, I think To the Stars was instrumental in that. I don't think that article would have happened without To the Stars. There's no way. So this is not a case where, in fact, I think, Blumenthal and Leslie Kean both were talking about this, so I'm not mistaken, that the press conference was definitely, and the events around that press conference of October 2017 were key in generating some forward motion on getting that article done. And of course, the people behind the scenes with TTSA, I think, were very instrumental in feeding some of this information to Leslie Kean and the other authors. So, no, they were very important in this. And the real question is, what was their actual motivation? And again, I guess I would just say that people are complex. It's not all simple. There's always the fact that they want to make money. They want defense contracts. I think there's no question about this. All you have to do is read between the lines, and not even between the lines. They want to get taxpayer money to study exotic technologies by, at least to some extent, legitimizing UFO phenomenon within Congress, so they can get money doing research. So that's definitely on their agenda. Now, does that make them bad? Well, I don't know. I mean, we can all answer that on our own, I suppose. But everyone's got their own motivations for doing everything. The fact is, for me, I just ask, are they putting out genuine information that helps those of us who believe in ending UFO secrecy? And I think in this case, the answer is, yeah, I think they've helped a bit.
Let's take a break right here. Our guest tonight, Richard Bleepin Dolan. Yeah, Bleepin is his middle name. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. This is Fade to Black. More with Richard right after this short break. Stay with us.
Way out here, we listen to Jimmy Church.
You're listening to Fade to Black.
Always on the edge of the hottest alternative talk. Jimmy Church with Fade to Black. KGRARadio.com.
¿Qué tal, mis amigos? Yo soy Mario Carson, el tiburón, y los invito para que escuchen a mi buen amigo Jimmy Church Radio. ¡Claro que sí!
Hurricanes, earthquakes, wildfires. This year we've experienced more than our fair share. This is Jimmy Church of Fade to Black, and last month I decided to make sure my family does not have to worry about food should we get caught in a real emergency situation. Introducing Numana, a healthy, storable product that tastes so good that you'll want to eat it every day instead of just during those times of duress. All Numana products have a 25-year shelf life, are MSG and GMO-free, no preservatives, and are made in America. With the Numana pack in your home, you'll be able to sleep at night knowing that you've protected your family. Not only have I tasted and tested, I own it. Now you can too. Just click on the Numana banner on JimmyChurchRadio.com and use the promo code Jimmy when you order. In addition to a discount, we'll send you an autographed Fade to Black t-shirt. Seriously, go Beckley Tappy.
Do you worry a lot? Whether you're a college student, busy professional, parent, or grandparent, ongoing stress and elevated levels of the stress hormone cortisol can rob your memory, your health, and your future. Now you can combat the effects of stress and anxiety while improving your memory and recall at the same time with the dietary supplement Calm and Clever. Studies show that the ingredients in Calm and Clever reduce cortisol by as much as 30% in 1 to 2 weeks. Call 1-800-758-8746 or calmandclever.com.
You listen to us, and we listen to you. And so does the CIA. KGRARadio.com.
Hi, folks. What can I say without making claims? CBD is truly the buzzword for health. What does it do? Government institutions will not allow me to say what this wonderful oil does for us. But I can say it's non-GMO and organic. I can say it's 0.003 THC, which in plain English means you won't get high. There are those that want to squash your freedom to buy natural products. Fight back with your purchase power. In the end, it is you that takes care of your health. Go to ancientlifeoil.com. One more time, ancientlifeoil.com.
You are listening to Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Network.
Oi, oi, I'm Reese Evans. You're listening to Jimmy Church. This is Revolution. The revolution will not be televised. The revolution is on radio. Ciao.
Welcome back. Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Our guest tonight, Richard Dolan. He is here. This segment of Fade to Black is proudly brought to you by Numana. Emergency food storage for you and your family. Promo code is Jimmy10. It's going to get you 10% off. It's going to get you free shipping. And it's going to, every order over $100, get you an autographed Fade to Black t-shirt. Richard Dolan's got an autographed Fade to Black t-shirt, don't you?
I don't know. Do I? I don't think I do.
And this is radio, Richard. You're supposed to say, I wear it every day.
I do. I'm wearing it right now.
That's right. I want to talk a little bit about the original UFO hypothesis. And the reason why I want to bring that up is a couple of weeks ago, you know, we've got this fast radio burst thing that is going on right now. And it's fascinating to me. Michio Kaku came out a couple of weeks ago. I don't know if you caught this. And he said fast radio bursts could be coming from starships, not planets. And it just made me sit back and think, if you are out in the vastness of interstellar space, right? 10,000 light years between objects, right? I mean, just the vastness of space. And you need to send out a warning beacon to your other Starship Trooper friends or what have you. You would do a fast radio burst. You would let people know where you are, just like we do here.
Well, would you use radio signals or would you use something that could be faster? I mean, I think that there probably are going to be faster than light types of communications. I mean, I know Michio Kaku doesn't believe that. But
I
I think I believe it. Of course, I'm not a physicist, so I'm allowed to believe whatever I want. But nonetheless, we have quantum entanglement, which has demonstrably been shown to have faster than light connections between one particle and another particle, and in theory, that could be at the distance of one galaxy to another. So. It would seem to me that a very, very advanced civilization, and that will include ourselves in another 1,000 years or more or less, might have discovered an ability to communicate that's far beyond radio waves. I would like to think so, and I have to think that it's entirely possible, and if it's possible, then we're going to do it. So I think, if we're looking for radio signals and that type of thing, maybe we're looking at the wrong type of a signal. Just a thought.
Well, and going back to the Drake equation and SETI and some of the faults that because they're looking for radio signals, and obviously if there's an advanced civilization out there, they wouldn't be using radio. They would have moved beyond it. Certainly on this planet, we've moved beyond. I mean, radio still exists. I'm not going to say that it doesn't. I'm a broadcaster, but it's not what it was 50 years ago.
No way. No, exactly.
Right. And I don't know what we're going to be using in another 50 years, but that's a little 150-year window of us using that technology. I don't think we're going to be using radio waves in another 50 years. But the flip side to that is the obvious, which is civilizations out there went through the same elements of technical revolutions that we did. And at one point, they were using fast radio burst, and they were using radio signals, and they're eventually going to get here. That's my take.
Yeah, exactly. I feel like what we're dealing with in this UFO phenomenon is I think almost certainly the result of some kind of melding of biological and artificial intelligence. And that is what we're dealing with. And I only feel this way because it's very, very easy now for us in our society to see this is exactly where we are going. You look at all of the advances that we are making in terms of our hardware, in terms of AI, in terms of quantum computing, nanotech, robotics, the fact that we've DNA mapped ourselves pretty completely, and we're able to edit our genes through CRISPR technology. And that's just the beginning of where we're going. And then, ask yourself, I love hearing all of these truly know-nothing skeptics who will say, travel to the stars is impossible. You people don't realize how distant the stars are. And I just think we're probably 20 years away, officially speaking, all right, from having a ship or a being that's artificially intelligent enough that can probably survive an interstellar journey. Maybe a century if you want to be generous. We're just about there ourselves. Don't we think it's possible to have an artificially intelligent ship? So we'll have our own little avatars out there. We're going to have these ultra-fast, ultra-intelligent machine avatars, robots, virtual entities. They're almost here upon us now. And then when you think about how the technologies we're developing are going to be working either synergistically or just in coordination with each other, add like nanotech and then 3D printing and 3D scanning and the ability almost to create an artificial being. We're almost there. You talk about hospitals saying that, in a few years we're going to be creating 3D printed livers for replacement livers and organs. And I mean, they're talking very seriously about this. So we are right on the cusp. And then you get these futurists who talk about human immortality now. Some of these are the scariest people on the planet. Anyone who wants humans to live forever is a very frightening person, in my opinion. But nonetheless, they're having these conversations. And so we're on the verge of going post-human, transhuman. So if we can see ourselves doing this very realistically, by the way, in the next generation or two, I think we have to assume that what we're dealing with is the result of that. And you look at something like the Greys that everyone has reported and talked about. there's no way, in my view, that they could have ever been naturally, biologically occurring beings. I mean, just not a chance. The heads are way too large. The bodies are too spindly. It doesn't make any sense in terms of evolutionary body plan. But it does make sense if you see them as created for certain purposes, to have exceptional intelligence in certain ways, bodies not really needed in certain ways, and on and on and on. Sex organs. Why would you give a drone worker the ultimate distraction of sex organs? You wouldn't. So I think we're dealing with the results of a hyper advanced post singularity civilization, or maybe a series of them that have found us. They find us interesting. I mean, of course they would find us interesting. Earth is interesting. Earth is fascinating. Earth is beautiful. Earth has all of these unique combinations of DNA. My God, I mean, if you're interested in any form of life whatsoever, Earth is a gold mine. And there may be millions and billions of others out there, but it doesn't make Earth any less valuable. And then on Earth, there are these creatures, these human beings that are, yeah, I mean, it's easy for people to say, oh, we're just like insects compared with a higher order of intelligence. I disagree. Our intellect may not be as high as theirs, but we have an interesting internal life, I believe. We did create Shakespeare and Goethe and Beethoven and a lot of other really cool people. So we've got something going for us. And we have discovered some pretty interesting scientific secrets. So that makes us interesting as well. So no, I think that we would be of prime interest to a lot of other people out there that have the ability to observe us and to monitor us. And I think that's exactly what we are dealing with. And I think that they've noticed us, some of them have noticed us for probably as long as we have existed. And the real question that I ask myself, and I don't know if I'll ever get the answer, is to what extent have they managed us, monitored us, tweaked us, controlled us? I don't know. But it's interesting.
The math of things fascinates me. And if you and I are sitting around a poker table and we're, there's 5 of us, you, Race, Robin, Tracy, myself, right? We're all just doing our thing. We deal out a hand of cards. You look at your cards. Eventually, those 5 cards in your hand, it may take a while, but we continue to deal those cards. The exact same hands will be dealt, right? It's just a numbers game. Okay, it's the same thing with planet Earth. Out there, it's a numbers game. There is another Earth. There's another Earth identical to us. And on that planet right now, Richard, are 2 radio hosts talking about life out there in the universe. Right?
It's funny. Right. I think it was about a month ago. I had a kind of epiphany on exactly this type of thought. It's so funny that you think of these things that are occurring to me independently. It's really true. And I just had this moment where I remember looking out at the sky. It was about a month or 2 ago. And I just thought, out there is another planet that's got to be very similar to our Earth. That's got to have a certain amount of oxygen and plant life that's evolved and grown, and their version of mammals and their version of intelligent life that has developed the ability to conceive of life beyond. Like, I just thought, they're out there right now, and here I'm standing thinking about them, and maybe they're thinking about me. It was a nice moment.
Yeah, on that planet was another Dolan looking up at the stars, right? Yeah, having that exact same thought. So if that is the case, then of course somebody is out there looking for us and has found us, and has probably found us thousands of times. Thousands of civilizations out there that have explored, and that's it. And so back to the UFO hypothesis, the original thing, the nuts and bolts.
You talking about the extraterrestrial hypothesis?
Yeah. And when we go back and consider how innocent that thought was, right, and where we are today. But when I go out and I have these sightings and I'm seeing things in the skies, I've done it with you too as well, and we're up there looking at, now, is that nuts and bolts? Is it energy? Is it just some type of drone like Voyager, or something like that? I don't know what is being represented up there right now. I really don't. I don't know if it's a metallic nuts and bolts with a dude in there with a pilot and a joystick, or if it's something else, or if it's pure energy, if it is, like you were saying earlier, consciousness. What do you think is being represented in the skies these days, and how did they get here?
I think what you're moving toward is a kind of updated version of the ETH, that is the extraterrestrial hypothesis, and I think that's an appropriate thing for us to be doing. When we think of the extraterrestrial hypothesis, if anyone who's been involved in UFOs for any amount of time, the ETH almost seems kind of boring to people. Like, are there men and women from another planet in metal spaceships coming here, take us to your leader, that type of thing? And back in the 1950s, when people were first talking about this, it was kind of like the Buck Rogers version of the extraterrestrial hypothesis. That is, we're going to get into our rocket ship and go out into space, and that must be what they're doing. Beings from another planet have traveled to get here. And I think it was attractive for a little period of time, but I think it became unattractive because people started to think, well, first of all, you have people like Vallée in the 60s who started looking into the fact that this phenomenon might just go back throughout all of our history. He's looking at reports of fairies and other types of creatures. His great book, Passport to Magonia. And more recently, incidentally, he co-authored an excellent book, Wonders in the Sky. I highly recommend it, where he talks about, how the fact that this is an ancient phenomenon. And so if it's an ancient phenomenon, are we really inclined to think that they're coming from another planet? Maybe there's something more interesting there. And I that's a fair statement. And then there's even more interesting theories. You've got various forms of an interdimensional type of hypothesis. Are these beings actually from another planet, or are there other dimensions? Are they from another dimension? I mean, after all, there's thousands and thousands of sightings every year. Are we really dealing with beings from another planet that are surveilling the Earth or coming here? I mean, it seems a little bit odd to think of it that way. So, and then there's other possibilities. There's is it the fact that an ancient human society or an ancient variation of our own species broke off in one way or another and developed in a parallel form, not sharing their secret with the rest of us? Is that what we're dealing with? I mean, there's all these ideas, but I would say this, that the extraterrestrial hypothesis for all of that is probably still the single best theory to explain what's going on. And I say this, but we need to update our understanding of the ETH. But one reason that I still think it's a strong theory is that you've got all of these very, very officially documented cases. I'm talking about military documents that talk about engagements with objects that are so far beyond our own apparent capabilities. I mean, and you've had a number of analysts saying, look, it's not the Russians. It's not anything that we know about. It's not natural phenomenon. So it's really not a stretch to wonder if this is an extraterrestrial thing. And then on top of that, you do have sighting after sighting after sighting after sighting by people of beings that look like aliens. They don't look like human beings. So what are they, if not from another? Maybe they're genetically modified human beings. Maybe. All right. But maybe they're not from here. Maybe they really are not from here. And so you've got a lot of the abduction research and counter research that does, in my view, seem to support the idea that we're dealing with extraterrestrials, or at least quite possibly extraterrestrials. But I would say, I think sounds like you would agree, that we want a fresh extraterrestrial hypothesis. This is something I've really been thinking a lot about over the last couple of years. So it would be an extraterrestrial hypothesis that would incorporate contemporary science, contemporary ideas in AI and robotics and computing and quantum computing and beyond quantum computing. And the fact that these, what would and a very, very advanced civilization look like? Well, it would, as Arthur C. Clarke say, it would seem indistinguishable from magic, almost certainly. They've got quantum computing and beyond. They've got advanced post-singularity AI. They've got total genetic mastery, I would have to assume. They've got total organic printing, or beyond anything that we can imagine. And the creation of virtual reality in the sense that I don't know if we've really gotten to that point in our own civilization. They can manipulate space-time. They can fold space-time. I'm sure of this. I mean, our own mathematicians, we have Miguel Alcubierre 25 years ago out of the University of Wales, gave a mathematical model of warp drive. It works. What we don't have is the energy. We can't generate the energy necessary for warp drive, like Captain Kirk would want us to do. But the principles are there. And apparently the math is good. And I think that there are other beings that have figured this out. So if you can manipulate space-time, fold space-time, or do whatever you can defeat the speed of light boundary in your own little loophole. So this is the type of ETH we have to be thinking about. The beings that have intense kind of telepathy, that may be natural or artificially enhanced telepathy. And they've got the ability to induce, I think, what Dave Jacobs called total neurological control over us. That is, if they don't want you to move a muscle, you're not going to move a muscle. Levitate people, move you through walls, all of this. I think so. It's an ETH, but it's an ETH that seems so far advanced that we don't know how to make sense of it sometimes. And I would suspect that it's an ETH that has kind of melded with a kind of homegrown version. I mean, in other words, what are these cases of beings that look exactly human? Are they really from another planet? Like, I don't think so. I don't believe that the encounters of the blondes, or they're not all blonde. They don't all have blue eyes, incidentally. Some of them have black hair. Some of them have dark skin, not light skin, and so on. There's a variety of these beings that are, but they're not like us, right? So are they really from another planet? I'm saying no. I don't think they're from another planet. I think they're us. I think they're genetically modified. Maybe they are behind it, or maybe an alien species is behind it. Who knows? I don't know. But there are too many sightings by people of these completely human-looking beings that I can't discount it. I would love to discount it. I would love for the UFO phenomenon to fit into this neat little package that would make it very easy for me to say it's this or it's that or it's this. But it refuses to do that. And part of it is that you've got beings that do look human and beings that do not look human. So the ones that do look human, I'm going to assume they're human, but they're not exactly like us. They're tweaked in some important way. So does that mean that they were, some alien race took a bunch of people from Norway 10,000 years ago and said, let's raise them to be like us, and gave them their own enhanced capabilities, and so that those human beings would have nothing in common with us culturally, really. They wouldn't have anything. But maybe that's the case. Or maybe it's a homegrown human group. I don't know the answer to this, but there's a lot that is at play here. And I'm long past the point where I feel a strong need to know for sure, is it one or the other? I mean, it would be great. It would be wonderful if I knew the answer to that one day. I would be, okay, great, awesome. But I'm not expecting it. But there's more than enough work in one day for someone like myself simply to understand what's in front of me. And most importantly, I do think it's valuable, and I'm shifting gears here slightly if you allow me, for us to have a more intelligent public conversation about this phenomenon so that more people can participate in the conversation, because really we need more people to participate in this conversation. We need more very, very smart, thoughtful people to offer their own ideas and research. And maybe we'll get some answers. And that means some form of, if not political disclosure, then maybe we'll call it cultural disclosure, a cultural transformation by which people just stop caring about the stigma associated with this phenomenon and realize that this is the greatest mystery of our time, and decide to get on this train and not miss out, because it's the best ride of your life.
It's fun. And I thought that you were going to go here, so I'm going to ask for clarification.
Oh, sure, please.
Is there the possibility that those that look like us are us from the future, time travelers? They're already here.
I don't know what I think about time travel as a hypothesis for this. It's never really appealed to me. I know there are folks who believe it. People like James Peniston is convinced that that's the answer, and I don't know, maybe he's right. I don't think that I believe it, but I don't know enough, honestly, about the capabilities of space-time manipulation to know that it's impossible. There are certain logical problems that come to my mind relating to going back into time. So, like, for example, I'll just give you one example, and I've never been able to shake this example. So if you're going to go back in time, like let's say we're in the future, right, and we want to go back in time. So how exactly do you do that? Because if you look at our universe, forget dimensions for the moment, if you will, our Earth is not static in space, right? It's revolving around the sun. And our sun is not static in space either. It is rotating around the center of our galaxy. And our galaxy is not stable in space. It too is part of a local group and a larger group, and it's moving. So if you're going to go back in time, it seems to me, you're going literally to wind back the clock of the entire universe, every cell, every microorganism, everything that exists. And you're going to what? Wind it all back to its physical location in all of space and go back there? How is that even possible? Like, I don't understand that. If someone can explain that to me, then I'd be very grateful. Now, are they coming from another different dimension in the future? And if that's the case, then is that a different outcome of reality? And are we dealing with a multiplicity, virtual infinity of outcomes, a virtual infinity of people just like ourselves? And if that's the case, then who really cares? Why does it even matter? What future are they coming back from to influence our timeline, and why the hell would they care? Like, and how's that going to affect them? Like, you understand where I'm going with this?
Yeah.
So I don't really understand the logic.
Right. Now, of course, that just poo-poos the whole idea. But that's kind of like the ETH. You're looking at it in a nuts and bolts sense. But if you go with Einstein's theory of relativity and the speed of light, you don't need a machine. You're not turning the universe back. You jump on your starship, Richard Dolan, and you take off for 2 years in one direction at the speed of light and come back. I'm gone. You have not aged, right?
Time can be manipulated, and time is manipulated. This has been a measurable fact of our world. This is why clocks will move at a different rate at Earth's surface as up even in our upper atmosphere. The effect is measurable, and the further out you go, it does make a difference. But the real question is, can you reverse it? And I don't know of physicists who say that you can. I mean, I know, yes, some have said theoretically the math would allow it, but can it really happen? I mean, I don't understand physically how it would happen, because it seems to me that you are kind of rewinding the clock of not just like your little town, so that you can go like Michael J. Fox in Back to the Future and meet your mom when she was young. Like that, to do that, you have to rewind, it seems to me, all of creation. And I have no idea how that would happen or how that would make sense to me.
I'll tell you, one fascinating rabbit hole to go down, just look up Albert Einstein and time loops. And just go right there and check out.
One more thing to do, but okay.
I know. That's what I'm good for. Let's take a break right here, and when we come back, I'm gonna tell you about what happened to me last week with Steve Murillo, and the reason why I brought up the ETH to you, because Richard, Steve and I had a daytime sighting. A real one, okay? And we'll talk about that when we come back. Oh, yeah, it really happened. I got some images, too. This is Fade to Black. Richard Dolan is the guest. We'll be right back. Stay with us.
Hi, everybody. This is Rob Halford, the Metal Guard, on JimmyChurchRadio.com.
This is KGRA Digital Broadcasting Station.
Salt Lake City, Utah. Van Buren, Arkansas.
Okay, nurse, let's get this man to the ER stat.
Right away, doctor.
We see this every day. Heart attack or angina pain due to blocked and clogged arteries. Chelation can remove obstructions or blockages from arteries and help avoid painful and expensive surgery. Now there's Angioprim. It's a liquid oral chelation product that you take with juice. You start to feel the results fast. Angioprim increases blood flow all over the body, and that means more energy and strength to take on the day with less aches and pains. 60 years of research has gone into chelation, and Angioprim is the result. A safe and easy way to unblock your veins and arteries from buildup that slow circulation.
Paging Dr. Jones. Please report to the emergency room right away.
Log on now for a special radio offer from Angioprim. That's angioprim.com/radio. ANGIOPRIM. Angioprim.com/radio or call 877-882-7221. That's 877-882-7221.
So, you love talk radio? Then you'll love TalkStreamLive.com. TalkStream Live is always on, 24/7 with the best streaming talk shows. Find your favorite talkers and discover some new ones. It's free, readily available online or on any smartphone or tablet. Finding your favorite talk shows all in one place has gotten a whole lot easier. Just go to TalkStreamLive.com. Be sure to download the free apps from Google Play or the iTunes App Store.
Your contact for current news and trending topics. KGRAradio.com.
What can I say about the most popular tea on the internet? And what do customers say about Life Change Tea at GetTheTea.com? A lot. But by federal law, we at GetTheTea.com cannot make claims to how this product can enhance your health. We cannot even post our testimonies without being in compliance. So how do we get past the hump? Try our products at GetTheTea.com and see for yourself. You can send us a testimony, but we just can't post it. Bummer. Our products are GMO-free and organic. We pride ourselves in being the best we can be, and we urge you to take charge of your health. We're 11 years strong, and many of our customers have shared their successes with friends and family. Protect your colon. Log on to GetTheTea.com. That's GetTheTea.com. GetTheTea.com. GetTheTea.com.
Did you know that when you're on the road with limited data or Wi-Fi available, you can still listen to every minute of Fade to Black by just calling 605-562-4482. No smartphone, app, or internet needed. It saves your data plan and no extra cost if you have unlimited minutes. Just call 605-562-4482. You can listen to me, Jimmy Church, on any phone, anytime, anywhere. Go Beckley Tappy.